Yeah, Thomas, just to follow up from part one, I think you did mention about Macy Consultants being one of your passion projects,
Yes.
but we also know that you're also the co-founder of ASIP as well. I think just to take a step back, like what was the thought process and what was it like one day you were just walking along Thailand or on your international experiences and then you just like had like a light bulb moment and you just said, I think I need to start something, or was that something like a process over time? Like what made you want to actually start all of these organizations?
Oh, no, that's a very interesting point you bring up, Andrew. So I guess what makes, just take another step back, what makes
Yeah.
SCP special, it's already identified individuals and aspiring leaders who are predisposed into, building their career that builds bridges between Australia and the Asia Pacific region, whether that be Southeast Asia or a specific other country.
Mm.
So ASEAN has always been a passion of mine, but again, I'm not the only one that has held that passion. So how it happened for me was that I went to a New Colombo Plan event, or I guess leadership summit that was in Sydney, thanks to the New Colombo Plan. And I came across a few individuals, some who I'm already known from, I guess, the experience, but others who I had met. One of them is Haley, Haley Winchcombe. She and her Nash had this idea, and it's an idea that also sat with us, sat with me and a few others, but it just needs that right kick or that trigger to really get the ball rolling. So when the concept was raised about ASIP and the potential to really build that relationship, what made it so special at that point in time was that it was recognizing that it wasn't just me, it wasn't just my other co-founders, Yoni and Patrick, Haley, Nash, it was all of us. But we just happened to be in the right time and space where that opportunity unfolded. And we knew the different networks and skills we all brought along. And then a commitment by us as well as the community and our supporters that this is something that we can really bring to Australia and create this platform that really activates community engagement, knowledge sharing, collaboration. And that's how ASIP was formed. But as a startup or as a, I think I guess from my opinion, it operated like a startup. We picked ourselves up, we failed. We picked ourselves up, failed. We developed frameworks, which applied for registration. There were times that we had, as secretary, I had to kind of talk to ACNC why we are a charity. They would provide questions and I had to provide a response back and forth. And that's just one front. But there were so many legs and moving pieces. But what really made it work was that we were operating as a team that had this shared vision and values.
It's interesting that you bring up the point of a startup. Like I think like there's a very common thought that it was like 95 or like 99% of startups fail. Like the concept of picking yourself up, what really was the key to that? Like was it knowing that there was a greater need for this organization to exist, or was just the team behind you, or was it like a combination of both? Or from your experience, what was that?
There's a lot, but to speak to two main points, and I think I would like to hopefully people find this valuable. Was at first was that what we have achieved and continue to achieve is not possible without the wider team. Yes, there are the co-founders, but without the community and the team members who dedicate so much time, this organization would be nothing. So their contributions and their ideas helped us to learn, because there are gaps. There's always going to be gaps, but when you're able to develop the right mechanisms and the right culture and environment that makes people feel safe to share their ideas and question the direction, it allows us to reevaluate where the direction we're taking the organization. How does that look like? Is that our team in our first year, where a lot of these shortcomings and learnings did unfold, was through surveys. We had so many internal surveys, both within our team as well as with our stakeholders. And from that, coming together and identifying the actions that need to take place, identifying our goals. How do we want to improve feedback? Where do we want to be? That's the first. The second would be having lessons learned workshops. And that's something every workplace does, but for ASIP, it was so important. At the start of this year, we reflected on 2019. We came together, the directors, and we had this very honest and real conversation. And a lot of it is hard because we're predisposed to, we had ideas and we had goals in mind and portfolios in place, but it was really breaking that all down and building it back up into a state that was much stronger and well positioned for the future. And I think that really goes to show how much the organization has come, and that would have not been possible without the lessons learned. Where Cam and his team is taking it, and you would have seen through all the digital programs, and us being quite clear and articulate in what we do, our vision, our strategies for the future. It really shows that that was possible because we were willing to be vulnerable, but one, we established a safe space to do that. So that workshop is something that I felt was a defining piece to ASIP's success today.
I'm curious, where did you first encounter that concept of that workshop? Was it through your internships, or was it something that you've participated before involuntarily, or?
That is, lessons learned is, I guess, a tool that every organization uses, but the workshop is important. And I think all organizations that are successful have this in place that allows the coming together through a structured format, because we needed structure. If you don't have a structure, it becomes a free-for-all. And then the dialogue is not very constructive and it gets nowhere.
Yeah.
But we all came in knowing what we needed to share. We had an agenda set, and we made sure that any items that were unresolved within the 2-day lessons learned weekend workshop, we would resolve it, or we would define actions we would take up to the point that we were all happy with where we're going with the organization, because that creates that strong buy-in. I learned a lot of the facilitation to my workplace at ACOM, as well as the same with the other people. They've learned from their workplace how their organizations did it. So we kind of developed a way that made sense for ASIP, because we're still very agile at the time.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because, well, for me, on a very much smaller scale, I guess this podcast and this series that I've been doing, I think it's very much something that I needed to really sit down and reevaluate, and just, well, I'm doing it by myself, so I'm just like self-reflecting. I don't have a team around me, but yeah, it's nice to see and just to speak to people to get their feedback on like what's working, what's not working, and you can see that from the results as well, just not from the feedback. And I think it's really important to be agile and be honest with yourself of what's actually happening, because if you don't take on, I guess, that feedback, then you're not really adapting and growing as well. But yeah,
exactly. Just to speak to your podcast, I really do enjoy it. I think it definitely has a platform, and that, like, I was excited to be invited to it because one, I get to hang out with you. It facilitates dialogue towards a goal, and the goal is to sharing lessons learned.
Yeah.
And as well as the way that the way you facilitate, I really do enjoy. It's semi-formal, but it really knows how to target key areas. And like me sharing about ASIP and the setup of Mason Consultants later on is just a testament to the way that you're quite organized, and it's one that is an understated value. And I do appreciate so much. I even like the logo you designed too. It really provides this agency. Like, you know what, this platform has something to say. And I know that from your earlier iterations, all this framework was coming together, and I get to be part of it now.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a work in progress. Like the first few episodes, I was just basically messaging back and forth. Oh, what should we talk about? How should we structure it? Okay, that's the time. And then, just these small things. I think leads to our point about passion projects. And I think it does come back to being proactive and really chasing after what we actually care about and our passions. And I think for me, how I started this podcast was, I think it started from a class in one of my government and international relations majors, where this isn't like, I guess, to say that all of the subjects were. It was just one particular instance where I feel like the open dialogue and the safe space wasn't there for me. And I felt like I needed to really say something, but it wasn't going to be received in the way that I hoped it would be, in very open-minded, two-way reciprocal dialogue. And I'm just really fortunate enough to be a part of this New Colombo Plan community, where I know everyone is super talented, super proactive, and really open-minded, because you have to be open-minded to a certain degree to go to another country, to learn a language, learn to exchange and do internships. So I just wanted to make full use of it. And
Yeah,
so we have.
definitely. I'm excited how this will evolve once the world does recover and you are in country.
Yeah.
How would this change? Would it be the mode or the guests you have?
Yeah.
So, I'll be following your journey.
Thanks, Thomas. Yeah, and I guess leading towards your passion project with Macy Consultants, did you want to tell everyone like how that started, and what is Macy Consultants all about?
Definitely. So Macy Consultants is a social enterprise that's based in Australia and the Philippines. And our vision is to enhance the well-being and resilience of communities, because we do believe that everybody has the right to live in health, dignity, and prosperity. And how we do that is that we work through collaborative and trusted partnerships to create platforms which activate capacity building, community engagement, and knowledge sharing. How we were founded. So coming out of New Colombo Plan, I came back to Australia and I was about to finish my last semester, wrapping up my thesis. And then there was a Research for Development Impact Conference, which leaders, or I guess young aspiring leaders, were invited to pitch an idea, a project. And I pitched one in collaboration with people I met in the Philippines. And we were awarded as winner. That gave us the funds to implement capacity building workshops in the rural provinces in the Philippines. Now that was at a very early stage, and Macy Consultants wasn't conceptualized at that point in time.
Yeah.
But because of that, and then I guess channeling everything I learned from the NCP and that experience, I wanted to put it to somewhere, and somewhere that I could develop constructively, and one that I could potentially scale and grow. And I think our milestones to date have reflected that. My co-founder, Edwin, he is an optometrist in practice, but he's also a leader in enterprising. He has multiple businesses in the Philippines.
Yeah.
We worked together, we established a team, and then we started to really hone in this idea of what do we want to hope to achieve in community engagement and as such. So we're 3 years in, similar to ASU, just over a longer period of time, we've made so many hiccups.
Yeah.
But in saying that, we've grown and pivoted so much. We now have a strong team in place. We have a strong advisory board, including the likes of Kunapong Kunaraksa, who is one of the 40 under 40 Asian Australian leaders. We also have Raul C. Creencia, who's one of the leading lawyers in the Philippines. And they are part of this vision that we're working on to really make clean water and sanitation accessible to all Filipinos. So that's our current priority. It's wash, water, improve sanitation and health. And I guess I want to take this opportunity that a recent achievement was that we established a consortium that's led by Macy Consultants.
Yeah.
We partnered with water.org, so the global not-for-profit, as well as Australian Water Association, which is the national peak water association in Australia. Through our consortium, we've established a portfolio delivery services partner, which is a dedicated team that's working towards improving the capabilities and creditworthiness of water districts. Because what I learned is that, at least where Macy is strategically placed, and again, this comes from the lessons learned, is that we were focused the past 2 years engaging households, but we felt that that wasn't for us scaling in the way we should. There are many different organizations and local partners in that space. What differentiates us? For us, we are a conduit between Australia, the Philippines, and the region. So that's why we partnered with the right people who also believe in that, and they acknowledge our capabilities to do that. That if we empower water districts, they themselves can improve water and sanitation access to all the households they manage. So we're very excited. We were going to launch a pilot, and we have one planned at the end of this year and throughout 2021.
Wow, that is a massive effort, and definitely an effort that obviously you did foresee the importance of it prior to COVID, but now is even more important now because of COVID.
Mm.
Like, have you been able to like visit like the places that Macy has been able to help out and like have actually made a big impact? Obviously, you can't travel for like the last 6 months, but like, is it just like, does it bring back memories of like when you were the first time you were in Thailand and just being able to
Yeah.
help the juvenile like group, or now being able to see it being translated in a different way to
Uh,
like communities?
you put it, you've articulated that point very well. It's like, how did I take from the Thailand experience and sync that to my professional career
Yeah.
and where I want to be in international development as well as in project management?
Hmm.
Yes, when I think about it, it brings so much good memories. When I
Yeah.
went to the Philippines to the initial projects
Yeah.
in Palawan, when we did our capacity building workshops with rural households, to see the impact you have, and then them just saying thanks, whether it be in the local dialect or English, which is, I guess, for Philippines still a main language,
Yeah.
but that means a lot. And now to have this platform through Macy Consultants and through its partners to create measurable change, where households will have access to clean water, households who didn't have access before, or households that will have access to toilet systems, dignified toilet systems,
Hmm.
rather than open defecation, which is a problem in the Philippines.
Hmm.
To be part of that change and that solution, and to take a leadership role in that, even though we're in the pilot stage. As any startup, we've made it so far, but there's only so much to learn. But we are on the right track, and that is very exciting.
100%. And I am conscious of time, but I will ask you, I think, one more question or two more questions if there is time. Being a leader in your own right, just being a leader in ASIP as well as Macy Consultants, and I guess being a leader when you were an NCP scholar, being a leader of your self-leadership in that way, like what has really opened your eyes the most, and what have you learned like is so important to effective leadership, but also being a leader that is, getting things done, but also not just the results, but also the people behind it?
Well, that's such a big question,
Yeah.
Andrew. I think thought leadership is in that area is so much topics.
Yeah.
But if I was to say one thing right now,
Mm.
it will be leading with integrity, right?
Mm.
And I say that in the sense that if you lead with integrity, people see that the passion project or the mission that you're connected to will resonate, not just among your team, but among your stakeholders and partners. And that's what's key, especially in Asia.
Mm.
You can't just come in and make change. You have to take that time to build that relationship and to be very thoughtful in your approach. People can see through, locals can see through if you're not being true.
Mm.
And if you do that, you create value together, you inspire the future. And that from that loaded question,
Yeah.
has been key to where Macy Consultants has come today. It doesn't matter if I make mistakes. I mean, it does matter if I make mistakes, but as long as I'm doing what I believe is best, and I've been thoughtful in consulting with the communities so that I do make a positive impact, consulting with my team, recognizing that, you know what, I don't know everything. That's why I have a team to rely on. And the team is still continuing to grow in size. That in itself has allowed Macy to grow so much.
Yeah, I think the key point is just definitely integrity in the relationships. Once you have that close relationship, as it is so valued in typically in like the Asia Pacific, Indo-Pacific region, people can really see through if you're not being quite like having integrity or having the best, I guess, interest for them, if you're working for them or if you're working with other people in the team. So I think that's definitely key.
Yeah, and that's what's been key to our success. Many of these organizations are partnering with us. They're not saying that they can't build their relationships themselves, but that takes time. That's where we come in, and we work with them because we have established those relationships. And that's where Macy Consultants is strategically placed between Australia and Philippine relations.
Well, Thomas, it has been a pleasure. I am definitely keen to follow the journey of what Macy Consultants is going to be doing and going to achieve in the future. Definitely keep me updated. And for ASIP, I'm actually more involved in that because I actually can participate in the events. But
What? I'll create an opportunity just for you because you are amazing in facilitation and platform
no,
building.
no,
So we'll see. Let's have that open because I really did enjoy speaking with you, and I know how much value you're bringing to the
no,
entire space.
no, and likewise with you, mate. I invite so many guests, whether they have a lot of like 3-4 years experience or just currently an NTP scholar. I think there's just so much lessons and insights that people can bring from their own personal experiences. So thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you
Well,
for
thanks so
this
much,
moment.
Andrew, for having me. I really appreciate it.